The morning sunlight streamed softly through the half-drawn curtains, illuminating the quiet suburban home where Emily Parker lived with her 17-year-old son, Jason. Life had never been easy for Emily. She was a single mother who had raised Jason on her own since he was just a toddler. Her husband, David, had passed away when Jason was only 2, leaving Emily to shoulder both parental roles. Emily often thought back on those early years, working double shifts, taking night classes, and still managing to show up for every school play, every baseball game, and every parent-teacher meeting. To Jason, she was not just a mother but his entire world, his source of comfort, encouragement, and guidance. To Emily, Jason was not just her son. He was her purpose, her reason to wake up each morning with determination even when exhaustion weighed her down. It was a Saturday morning when something unexpected happened, something that would forever shift the bond between them. Jason had just come back from his early basketball practice. He was tired, sweaty, and all he wanted was a shower and a nap. As he entered the house, he called out, "Mom? You home?" There was no answer. Jason walked upstairs, expecting his mom to be in the kitchen preparing breakfast, as she often did on weekends. But when he reached the hallway, he noticed Emily's bedroom door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open gently, only to freeze at what he saw. Emily was sitting on the edge of her bed, holding an old wooden box. Inside were photographs, letters, and mementos from years ago, reminders of her life with David, Jason's late father. Her eyes were filled with tears, though she tried to quickly wipe them away when she noticed Jason standing in the doorway. Jason was shocked, not because he had never seen his mom cry before, but because he had never seen her so vulnerable, so unguarded. For years, Emily had been the strong pillar in his life, always smiling, always assuring him that things would be okay. But in that moment, Jason saw not just his mother, but a woman who had carried grief silently for nearly 2 decades. "Mom," Jason said softly, stepping inside. Emily quickly closed the box, forcing a small smile. "Oh, honey, I didn't hear you come in. Did you already eat breakfast?" But Jason wasn't fooled. He walked over and sat beside her. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emily hesitated, her fingers tracing the edge of the wooden box. For years she had avoided these conversations, thinking Jason was too young, or that she needed to protect him from the weight of her sorrow. But now, looking at her teenage son, taller than her, his eyes filled with genuine concern, she realized he was old enough to know the truth, the full truth about their family's past. She sighed deeply. "Jason, I think it's time I tell you something I've kept inside for a long time." Jason felt his heart race. "About Dad?" Emily nodded slowly. She opened the box again, showing Jason the photographs, pictures of David holding Jason as a baby, their wedding photo, and letters David had written to her during their brief marriage. Jason had seen a few of these pictures before, but there were many he had never laid eyes on. As Emily spoke, her voice trembled, but there was a calmness to her words too, as though finally sharing this was lifting a heavy burden off her chest. She told Jason about how deeply she and David had loved each other, about their dreams of raising him together, and about how everything changed when David fell ill. She described how hard it had been to watch the man she loved fade away, and how she had tried to be strong for her baby boy even when her heart was breaking. Tears welled up in Jason's eyes. For the first time, he truly understood the sacrifices his mother had made.
"Mom,
I had no idea," he whispered. Emily placed a hand on his. "I didn't want you to grow up with sadness in your heart. I wanted you to live fully, without carrying my pain." Jason shook his head. "But Mom, you don't have to hide it from me. I'm not a kid anymore. You don't have to go through this alone." In that moment, Emily realized something profound. Her little boy had grown into a young man capable of giving her the same strength she had always given him. She allowed him to see her brokenness, her grief, and her humanity. And instead of weakening their bond, it strengthened it. The two of them spent hours together that morning, going through old letters and photos, laughing at David's silly notes, crying at the bittersweet memories, and talking about the years that had passed. Jason asked questions he had been too afraid to ask before, and Emily answered with honesty and love. As the day stretched on, Jason wrapped his arm around his mother and said, "Mom, you've always been my hero. But seeing you like this, it doesn't make you weaker in my eyes. It makes you even stronger. You carried all of this alone just for me." Emily smiled through her tears. "And I'd do it all over again, Jason. But maybe now we can carry it together." From that day forward, their relationship changed. They still had the same routines, school, work, dinners, chores, but there was a new openness between them. Jason no longer saw his mother as just the indestructible figure who always had everything under control. He saw her as a human being with a heart that had endured loss yet kept beating with love. Months later, Jason told his mom that he wanted to honor his father's memory by applying for a scholarship in David's name. He also started journaling about his own feelings, inspired by the letters his dad had left behind. Emily supported him, proud of the man he was becoming. In the end, what shocked Jason that morning wasn't just seeing his mother cry. It was realizing how much strength and courage it took for her to allow him to witness her pain. Emily allowed her son to see her not as a perfect, unshakable parent, but as a real person. And in that honesty, they both found healing. The Parker home was no longer just a place where mother and son lived. It became a space where love, truth, and vulnerability could thrive. Emily had always feared that showing weakness would burden her son. But in reality, it brought them closer than ever before. And so, their story became a quiet but powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give their child is not perfection, but permission to see their humanity. Because love is not about hiding our tears, it's about sharing them.